Hey folks, welcome to a podcast about Catholic things, which you haven't seen us for a long time, but we're hoping to start this up again over Lent and maybe hopefully keep it going after that. We're changing days and we're going to try to do it on Friday nights now. I am the ambassador of common sense, Eric, and I'm here with
Dan, the ambassador of nonsense. And it has been a while. I was just looking at our dates, and I've used two different computers, but the last date I have on this computer is June 22nd last year. So it's been almost
Actually, I thought
9
it was
months.
a little bit longer. Yeah, I thought it was a year or more than a year.
Yeah.
But
you know what's cool is the earliest date that I have on this computer is July something or other 2018. Which means that we actually we haven't been absolutely consistent, but we've done a full year almost of fairly good consistency getting them out. So we can do it.
We can do it. And the thing is, I'm thinking, okay, in this show we're going to go through our older podcasts and hopefully think up things. Because as soon as I publish a podcast, I have to listen to it the next day to make sure there's no glitches in it. And then I think, man, why did I say that? Or why didn't I say this or that? So we were going to go through this first podcast of the season where we were going to go through our old shows and just kind of talk about some of the things we may have missed way back when. Do you have the website up on your computer, Dan?
I do not. I can put it up real quick. Hold on just a sec.
Yeah, if you...
which one? APACT.org? Or what is it? APACT.us?
It's the same thing. Click on the button that says list all podcasts.
Yep, I got it. Okay.
And then go down to the bottom and click on number 4. Or the end or whatever.
Oh, right.
So that'll bring you to the last one, and we can kind of scroll up and go back.
Oh yeah,
page by page,
kind of
while we're watching. Just so we're on the same page.
Makes sense.
Oh, I had started saying that I was trying to go through these right before we started recording and realized that our website is messed up, and I think people can still hear the podcast. They just can't see anything on the website. So if they're doing like Apple Podcasts, they can still see it.
Yeah. Well, that's
good. But they can't. At least there's that.
Yeah.
But I'll have to fix that before we do anything else.
I was going to lead into this. Kind of funny. I was just thinking about. I don't know if you ever heard of him. There's a comedian that he did some stuff back when I was in college. His name is Emo Phillips.
Yeah. I've never heard of him.
He had this little stint. He was talking about being pulled over for drunk driving, and he was given the cop told him to walk a straight line, and he was saying, those situations where after you get out of the situation, you think back and the perfect thing that you should have said and that you wish you had said. Now, when the cop asked me, do you call that a straight line? What I should have said was yes. But no. I had to say, well, the closest thing you could come to a straight line, Officer Pythagoras, is electroencephalogram of your own brainwaves. Anyway. That kind of...
yeah, I think you got that backwards, dude.
Well, no, that's exactly how he told it.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
Because you told me right after you heard it, you told me about that joke.
Well, then I told it backwards.
He said, yeah, you told it backwards. Because
what he wished he would have said was just yes.
Yes.
But instead he insulted the cop.
That's the punchline. Yeah, but yes has to be a punchline. Because it's...
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
Quick and to the point.
I told it backwards.
See?
I did. Yeah.
It'd be funnier.
I get it.
Okay. I should have said, these, I'm going back through these and at first I had planned most of the talks we gave, and then I stopped planning around August of 2018 when we talked about the scandals in Pennsylvania. Remember that? They came out with that big report.
Oh, gosh, yeah. That occupied things for a little while. There it is, the Catholic scandal in Pennsylvania.
You were right on the money with everything we said, and it ended up all being true. And more and more people are talking about it at this point, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And, well, I guess we were right many years ago.
When you bring up I mean, it's not even just the Catholic Church. It's religion. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I thought that there was a huge problem in Cincinnati, or at least I thought there was a leadership problem in Cincinnati. Who was bishop when we were a kid? It was
Daniel Pilarczyk.
Okay. I don't know about him, but I do know that when Bishop Schnurr took over Cincinnati, one of the first things he did was he said, "There's a problem in our seminaries. They are set up to draw gay people."
Oh, he actually said that.
Yeah, and he took steps to end that.
Well, that's cool.
So, I mean, we criticize a lot of bishops on this show.
Yeah.
But so we got to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
And he did try to put a stop to that, or at least he took steps. He also started a group called Courage here in Cincinnati for guys with same-sex attraction.
Was that actually launched in Cincinnati, or did he just invite and start a chapter?
I have no idea.
Courage is like a
I don't think it started in Cincinnati, but it was. He pushed it in Cincinnati and tried to get it going in Cincinnati. And I have a couple friends who were involved in organizing it.
Oh,
and,
right.
So he has done a lot to put a stop to the homosexual agenda in Cincinnati.
Well, that's giving credit where credit's due. I don't know if you remember last year there was the Archbishop of Indianapolis took flack for Archbishop Charles Thompson took flack for enforcing the rules about people who teach have to live in a way that doesn't itself undermine their teaching mission and the Catholic faith and so forth. And there was one school, but two schools that he said, hey, you've got a openly gay so-called married person on your staff. One was a counselor. I think the other might have been a teacher. I don't remember exactly. The one was Brebeuf High School, which is Jesuit. Well, you can guess what they did. They said, okay, we just won't call ourselves Catholic anymore. Well, all right. So Jesuit doesn't mean Catholic. Let's go with that. And then the other one was, I think it was Roncalli High School, and they actually did say, yep, we're going to terminate the contract. We won't renew the contract for this person in the following year. But boy, the Archbishop, he took a lot of flack for that. But, kudos to him for standing up. First of all, aside from whether these are the policies of the Archdiocese, just recognizing...
What was his name?
Charles Thompson.
Okay.
Just recognizing the scandal that it means and the danger to people's souls and the young and, impressionable kids that they see this and it's, like, well, so-and-so does that. I like so-and-so. It must be okay.
Right.
They're leading souls to hell when they allow that kind of stuff. So. Yeah.
And I was talking to someone about the whole mess, and it's weird the way it's portrayed is that if you're gay, you cannot be a child molester, because if it's male on male, then it's not molesting; it's just gay, and it's weird that it got framed that way. And I started to think about this, and I thought, it's kind of the opposite. if you're straight, you don't like little kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's not straight.
Right.
If you're a molester, then you're cocked there and probably gay, but at least not straight, because a straight man looks at women.
Yeah.
And there are two features of them that he really looks at.
Yeah.
And little kids don't have those features.
Right.
So if that's what gets you excited, that you're not straight.
Right. Exactly. No way. Yeah. And that's, I think I made that point before that it's sexual deviancy begets sexual deviancy. It's of a kind. Homosexuality is of a kind with pedophilia, and frankly, it's of a kind with even more sick stuff. Zooo and whatever. So, and
I don't know if I made the point or not, but Thomas Aquinas kind of separated the sexual sins into natural and unnatural.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that.
Things like fornication would considered a natural sin.
Yeah, it's
or at least not natural. That's not the right word.
Inappropriate
against
context.
Nature and not against nature.
Right. Okay.
I think that's the way it was phrased,
and that kind of makes sense.
Homosexuality was put in the same class as masturbation.
Oh, right.
And I have to think, back then there weren't things like pornography, graphic pornography, as there are today.
Yeah. Well, even in the ancient Roman times,
I don't know if
there were
like masturbation involved fantasy.
Well, I don't think
the
nature
know
of
if he
people
would
has changed that
reclassify
much,
it
but yeah,
today, because I don't know. But anyway, homosexuality and masturbation were both put in that class of sins, sexual sins against nature.
Mm-hmm.
When we did the one on communion by the hand or by the mouth,
yeah.
Our entire debate revolved around whether or not pieces of the host would fall on the floor.
Well, it revolved. I mean, okay, I think it revolved around whether that was something to be concerned about, whether the complete body of Christ continued to subsist under the form of the smallest particles, as long as they were something that you could call what looked like particles of bread. And it looked like, I guess look like's not even the right word, but when you take like a wafer that's like unconsecrated, okay, little things flake off. You get these little particles, and I think my contention was, and I think the theology is that if the particles, if you can analyze the particles, and if you can say, well, what is this a particle of? Well, it's a particle of bread. As long as that continues to be the case, then if it was consecrated, the body of Christ continues to subsist under that form.
Yeah.
But yeah,
since then, because our priest here in the parish where you can go to the English Mass close to us,
mm-hmm.
He gets a giant host for the consecration.
And then breaks it
he
up.
He breaks it into like 30 pieces.
Yeah.
And going up and taking communion, I noticed that there's like crumbs everywhere.
Yeah.
Inside the little dish.
Right.
Patent, whatever you call it.
He does the ablutions after communion, doesn't he?
I assume. I don't know.
Oh. You don't go to
I'm
Mass
not paying
there.
attention.
Well,
right.
Typically, even like once communion's over, before anything else happens, they're supposed to wash the vessels, and they do it in a certain order. They wash the ones that hold the hosts first, and they wash that into the cup, and then they put water in there and rinse that and drink it. And then the cloth over which they consecrated the host and over which he would have broken it up. So if any pieces like flew off of that, it would land on this cloth, and they're supposed to fold that in a special order that keeps all of the pieces of the host inside of it until it can be taken to the sacrarium, which is a little, that's the little sink that goes straight into the ground, and it can be washed and rinsed there thoroughly so that all the pieces of the host go straight into the ground where they can, just naturally decay or whatever.
I have a feeling he doesn't do that.
Oh, that would be a shame. Because if he's not, then he's letting hosts, pieces of the host drop, and people are getting Christ on the bottom of their shoe and walking around with him.
Yeah. I even noticed, when I went up for communion, the guy giving me the host, would pick up a piece and then kind of shake it to get the crumbs off it.
Well, good for him to shake it into the dish.
But if it's that necessary, if there's that many crumbs, it seems like, I guess I would concede your argument there. Oh. But the thing is, our argument, shortly after we did that podcast, I heard another podcast on the same subject.
Oh, really?
The discussion was on something completely different. And it was the worthiness of your hands to touch the host.
Oh, that's right, because the priest's hands are consecrated, especially when they become a priest.
Right. And we don't put dirty things in our mouth. We only put clean things, sterile things in our mouth. Mm-hmm. And so our mouth being more consecrated for better things, like eating and staying alive, would be more worthy. There were a couple citations of past church documents saying that our hands are not worthy to touch the host except for the priest's hands.
Yeah.
Who even when he does touch the host, he's like the part where he puts his fingers together around the host and he keeps his fingers together throughout the rest of the ceremony.
He's supposed to.
Yeah,
today
he
they don't. many don't.
It's a shame. But we never really even got into that part of it.
I didn't even know. I didn't even know some of that when we had that discussion either. I might have even listened to the same podcast.
Yeah.
But one of the things they brought up, if we were talking about the same one, is that at least in the Eastern Rite, I don't think they do this in the Western Rite anymore. In the Eastern Rite, they consecrate at baptism. They consecrate your tongue. So even a baby, they would consecrate the baby's tongue to be able to receive the host.
I did not know that. Huh. Let's see. We did one on the reality of hell. I thought I had something to say about that, but I can't remember what it is.
Well, more and more it seems like people who are considered significant, I guess, leaders, speakers in the church, not what you would, what 2 years ago you would have considered your liberal church faction, but are kind of out there challenging the idea that anybody really goes to hell.
Pope Francis.
Well, no, I mean, everybody knows is a liberal. I'm talking about like Bishop Barron.
Oh. There was that document out there. So I can't even remember the name of it. But it made kind of a splash. Yeah, Dare We Hope?
Yeah.
Something like that. Which is kind of, I don't know, I guess the premise just seemed kind of silly to me.
Yeah, me too. Honestly, I think...
Why would Jesus warn us against things that
tickle the ears?
Didn't really have to worry about?
That's right.
I mean, Jesus just didn't do that.
That's right. Jesus sold hell as a very real possibility that people are going to go to, and in order to not go there, you've got to be on the narrow path.
And in appearances of Mary, too, in things like in Fatima.
Oh gosh, yeah, the vision of hell with the souls as like the embers in the fire just being recycled through the fire all the time and stuff.
Right, and she describes weeping for those souls.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, if they weren't there, there would be nothing to weep over. So, you know, it's just one of those things you got to take serious. Let's see, we did Native Americans.
Are we on?
I'm on
page 2 now.
Page 2,
okay.
Yeah.
We did a lot of these.
Because
I forgot how many of these we did. Yeah, Native Americans. That's.
I keep doing more and more reading on these, especially the ones around here in the Ohio Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, there was so much wrong on both sides of that whole thing. Did we talk about those Christian Indians that had been slaughtered?
No.
Did I talk about that?
I don't remember anything about it. No, I don't think you brought that up during that. That was the podcast we actually did at your house.
Yeah. I read about it. I guess I read about it after doing that podcast. There was a group of Indians, I want to say Moravian. Hold on, let me look that up. All right, so there was a group of Indians. They were known as Moravian. It was kind of a hodgepodge of a bunch of different tribes, and most of them were men and women who had taken the Christian faith, and a lot of them had been outed by the rest of their tribes, so they kind of formed their own tribes, and they had a government that was a little bit more civilized, and they were all Christians. So there was a white. No, hold on.
By the way, while you're saying that and figuring that out, I'll just tell everybody, you may have missed or thought you missed the beer of the week that we had kind of gotten into the habit of doing. Well, I don't have beers of the week lined up now, but what I am drinking is some very nice private selection Captain Morgan's that my son bought me for my birthday last year. Super smooth.
It's all that, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I still have those beers.
Oh, do you?
You sent to? Yeah, they're still sitting in a thing that I haven't touched.
Well, maybe we'll have to resurrect that, but you'll have to peek in each and send me what it is with the number so I can rebuild my own stock.
Yeah. Okay, so I think it was Colonel David Williamson who was leading the group of soldiers. They were chasing. I think there was a group of Wyandot Indians who had gone on a killing spree and scalping spree in. It would have been around like through Kentucky and stuff like that,
okay.
Or along the Ohio River, and they did their things and then ran back like they often did. They would go back on the Ohio side and start heading north up towards the lakes. And so this group of militia decided they're going to follow them and track them down and kill them. And I mean, this is a military force. The Indians were military and the militia was military. And they kept going. And then they came across this Moravian village.
So real quick here, can you put this into a time frame? Was this pre-American Revolution or post?
This is around 1782.
So just barely into the American.
Right.
Okay. So this would have been an American
George
militia.
Washington is still a general at the time, I think.
Okay.
And so they're going to go track them down. They come across this village mostly old men and children and women.
Yeah.
And waiting for the dog to quit barking. And they told them that they were Christian, and everybody knew they were Christian, and everybody knew it was not that group of Indians who had just attacked on the other side of the Ohio. And they said, we're going to kill you anyway. And this is around 200 Indians.
Oh, man.
They came and talked to each other, the tribes and they didn't have chiefs like most Indians, but they had kind of elders who would, and they decided, we are going to die for our faith and we're not going to fight back. And they knelt down and prayed, and the militia let them pray overnight, and then the next day they went in one by one and clubbed them to death.
Man.
I think 2 or 3 kids escaped. One pretended to be dead, and then he jumped up and ran away he had already been half scalped.
Oh, okay.
And then there was another one who got out through like a little cellar area that they hadn't seen. And his brother and sister were with him, but they couldn't fit through the opening. So he got away, and then when he turned around, his brother and sister were still alive, but they were burning down the building, so they died in that.
Man.
So 2 people escaped.
Which is probably the only reason we know about it.
Yeah.
Well, unless the militia themselves kept records.
They did not deny it when confronted with this. The men and the captains and colonels in charge, they didn't deny it. I mean, I think no one was really punished for it.
Wow.
But it's one of those things where you think, wow, I mean, we did some really rotten things. But you also consider the fact that the English were paying for American scalps. And this is after the Revolution, after we've won our freedom.
The British were paying Indians for the scalps of Americans?
Right.
I did not realize that. Wow.
We took a ship that was, I think it was sailing through Lake Erie, or one of the Great Lakes. We captured it before it could get all the way to Britain. There were huge barrels and caskets full of scalps, and the Indians would mark them. And it would be like, this is if it was a person you hit while you were sleeping. This is if you had to fight them. This would be a baby, and some of the scalps were fetuses.
Man.
So they would cut it out of a belly.
Pregnant women and then cut the fetus out and scalp them. Wow.
And some of them were notched if they killed the woman before taking the baby, or if they let her live while they were taking the baby. Things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, they were a brutal people,
yeah.
And I guess we were brutal as well. But it's not something you really hear about, how bad it was.
No.
Except when you're hearing about how bad the white man was.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. You know that, I mean, I guess most of the Ohio Valley area, you're talking about, in terms of interactions with the Indians, you're talking about British, settlements and British interactions and that kind of stuff.
Right.
I'd really kind of be interested in learning more. I mean, I know a little bit, but I'd be interested in learning more about the Spanish interactions with the Indians. I mean, those are the ones that, you have all of the mission churches out west and stuff like that, and in the Southwest.
Yeah, all through California and Texas and Mexico.
And I know that the reputation, the modern historical story is that the Spaniards, came in and brought a lot of death and just subjected the Indians to slavery and that kind of stuff. But I think there's probably a little bit more to it than that.
There's a whole lot more to it. And I mean, they were sacrificing their own people to these gods, and they were going on these killing festivals where, and that's the civilized Indians. the non-civilized ones who lived in the forests and the rainforests that Pope Francis loved so much, they were just as brutal. They ate each other.
Yeah.
They ate their own children. They sacrificed their children. It's not a good atmosphere, and these people were desperately in need of evangelization. I don't know. If you look at the history, you'll find good people and bad people, and I think it's true pretty much everywhere you go. And anytime you're dealing with indigenous peoples, you still find that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think also anytime, I think that there were a lot of cases where the local Spanish, the people who were kind of in charge of local settlements and that kind of stuff, would treat the Indians in ways that weren't in keeping with the decrees of the Spanish king.
Yeah.
And
you mean for the better or for the worse?
For the worse. The Spanish king, the Spanish monarchy was interested in evangelization and spreading the gospel. And then the local, whatever the actual term is, I'm going to say, the Spanish lords or whatever. What they would do is just use it for their own, self-enrichment.
Yeah, because they're human beings, and human beings can do some pretty bad things. But I mean, there's also think about it this way. You're going to go to this new land and start your family or become a part of a colony, whatever, maybe even hit it rich, find gold, whatever. And you have close personal friends that are slaughtered by this group of natives. Yeah. It's going to change the way you look at them.
Yeah. It
has to.
Sets the, right. It sets it kind of predisposes you to see them in a certain light.
Yeah. Especially if they don't convert to Christianity and they continue on living the way they've been living, which I think one of the points I made when we did the podcast was that their way of living was not going to be possible. Even if we decided we're not going to cross the Kentucky River into Ohio, we're just going to take this land and let you guys have that land, it still wasn't going to work for them because we were cutting out huge parts of wildlife. And they weren't going to have enough money or food to feed themselves
without going there
either way.
Right.
I mean, unless we just left Americas altogether, which wasn't going to happen.
Right.
All right. After that, we did liturgical music. It hasn't gotten any better. I do notice some of the churches are putting more and more Latin into the Mass.
I noticed that too. I think it's almost like they do it. It's almost like they're doing it for the novelty of it.
You know what, Art? I almost can't stand going to our local parish here, but I haven't gone there in probably 6 months, and I went the other week, and let's see, I think it's during the Kyrie. The priest goes down at what do you call? You would say foot of the altar, but now when you got the steps there, what is that area?
On the like between the steps and the first set of pews.
Yeah.
In a traditional church architecture, that would be called the transept.
Okay.
Unless it's still behind the altar rail. If it's behind the altar rail, I don't know what it's called.
No, this is in front of the altar rail.
When you say in front
He
of
comes
on the
down.
on the people's side of the altar rail,
Yeah.
that's in the transect. Yeah.
Okay. He comes down and he kneels down, and all the people kneel down while they pray the Kyrie. Which I can't say I don't like, but it just seems like maybe there's a better time to do that for the priest. You know what? Maybe he's preparing people. Maybe he plans on saying the Mass ad orientem.
I can't imagine. You're talking about, okay, can we use names?
I don't know.
You're talking about the pastor there, right?
Yeah. It's an odd thing to do. I've never seen anyone
I can't imagine
do it.
him just wanting to do ad orientem.
I can't either.
You know.
But he is doing that.
That's interesting.
But
you know,
it's kind of weird.
That is kind of interesting.
But regardless, it hasn't gotten any better, and it's still. What can you say about it? I guess it's going to be that way for a long time.
It is, and you know, I think that's why you continue to see a rise in popularity in the traditional Mass.
Yeah. Let's see. When we were growing up, there was one Latin Mass here in Cincinnati, one Tridentine Mass in Cincinnati. There are 3, 4, 5 now.
All of them legit?
3 different parishes.
You know, you're not talking about like SSPX masses and stuff?
I'm not, I don't even count them.
Okay. All of them legit?
They're Catholic parishes.
Wow.
One of them is where Mom sings.
Yeah.
And she's
not only sings,
choir
she's
director
a choir
there.
director. Paid choir director.
Well, she was at Sacred Heart for a long time, and she was completely volunteer for 20 years. She was the choir director.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to hire this organist, and the organist said, I'll only do it if I can have the Latin choir. And so they just took it from her. And I was pretty sore about that.
Yeah.
I kind of just stopped going there altogether. But just after I started going there again, Mom got a job offer from this other parish across the river in Kentucky. And they're completely Tridentine. They don't have English masses.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But they are Catholic.
It's amazing. It's exploding.
Yeah. And then there's Old St. Mary's. Remember they used to do the Latin Mass, but they weren't...
it wasn't Tridentine. It was the Novus Ordo Latin
It was Novus,
Mass.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now they do have a Tridentine Mass on Sunday mornings.
Oh, wow. Neat.
That's the one I go to because
Okay.
it's a low Mass, and I don't know. I'm not real fond of all the music and all the marching and, you know.
Well,
but they're exploding everywhere. They're getting big everywhere. And it's nice.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I got to put my plug in for Old St. Mary's, you know, because that's where I got married.
Oh, that's right. You did get married. That's where Terry was baptized, wasn't she?
She was well, she had already been baptized. She was confirmed there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. After that we did that was that. Remember Nick Sandmann?
I do.
I will never stop kicking myself for not recording that day. Before everybody else knew it was a big farce, I knew it was.
You
I
should have
hadn't
at
even
least
seen the
recorded.
video,
You
and
could have
I knew
recorded
it
a
was.
monologue, even if you couldn't get me or Jason. Do a monologue and say, "Hey, this didn't happen."
Yeah. Either way, we did it like a couple days later or something like that when everybody knew it was a big. And Bishop Foys still hadn't. You know, I wonder if we can get that kid on sometime.
That would be neat to do that. You know, I
don't think he's ever did apologize.
Who, Foys?
Not as strongly as he came out against him. Yeah,
I did. Hold on. I'm gonna click over to. Okay, so this one, So what prompted me to write this this one back in January 26th was I was glancing through. We have this local diocesan paper called the Criterion. It's the Catholic news rag for the Archdiocese of Indianapolis.
Yeah.
And let's see. Okay, so somebody, because of the March for Life, that week, and it being kind of historic, the president, for the first time, the president of the United States made a physical appearance at the March for Life, which we really appreciate. And of course, there was around the same time was the, settlement with CNN for Sandmann's lawsuit. And so, Catholic News Service, CNS, did kind of a follow-up, just a summary of it and reported what was going on. And let's see, here's the relevant part. Based on everything that's come through, one would think. Okay, so what I said is that based on everything that's come out during the past year, one would think that any story that refers to the initial events would say something like, Nathan Phillips approached Nick Sandmann after the March for Life and stood inches away from him while beating a drum and chanting. Or something like that, right? Because that's what happened. You'd think that would be... But instead, the recap from CNS was, Sandmann sued media outlets for what he claimed was biased coverage of what transpired on the Lincoln Memorial, and here's what transpired. That day, Sandmann, wearing a Make America Great Again hat, smiled just inches away from Nathan Phillips. In other words, even now, the Catholic media spins it that Sandmann was the doer, the instigator of the event. I mean, it's like this hate bias of, I don't know, pro-life in the Catholic media. I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's bad.
Or hate bias. Maybe it's because of the MAGA hat. Hate bias against Republicans. That's what it really is.
Yeah, it's the hat. Yeah.
One of the, in fact, I think I even sent you this article and said, do you think I'm being too harsh? And now that I think about it more, I think I was even going easy on him. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
I think you were.
But yeah, Nick, shame on Foys. He never did make an appropriate apology. And it would it'd be cool if we could get Nick Sandmann on our show sometime.
We need someone like Jason to try again. He's a salesman.
That's true.
We'll see.
He would also have to do the interview too.
I mean, but he's like right across the river, so we could probably go to wherever high school kids are hanging out.
Yeah, that's right.
And just approach him and say, "Hey, would you come on and record with us?"
Yep.
Oh well. Let's see. Toxic Men. Remember the commercial that Gillette did?
Yeah, but what I want to know is who's the guy you have in the picture there?
It was just they're stock photos, I don't know who it is.
It's me in 20 years.
The thing is, I stopped buying Gillette, and I had said that I couldn't find a razor that did as good as Gillette, but I tried the Schick razor, and I like the Schick razors.
Oh, do you?
They do great.
I've always not liked the angle of the Schick. When you shave with a Schick versus a Gillette, you got to hold it at a different angle to your face. But I had to try the Schick. But there are some other I
didn't notice it.
What I'm going to call off-brand razor clubs out there, like there's the Dollar Shave Club and other things like that they'll send you their razors in the mail, and you pay.
Yeah, I did the Dollar Shave Club.
Oh, did you? Was it any good?
Okay, here's the thing: you take a Gillette razor and hold it up to the light, and put one of those generic ones, or even like the Dollar Shave Club, next to it.
Yeah. And
watch the light gleam off the edge of the razor, and you could see that the cheaper one is like wavy.
Oh, you don't want that. That'll
you can see it.
That'll scratch your face.
Well, it doesn't. It's not. It's not to the point where it scratches you.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying there is a difference.
But it is
actually
the
physically
quality
different.
control and the manufacturing is, yeah. And it's a shame. You know, what's really a shame is that Gillette is a product of Procter and Gamble.
I didn't know that.
Which, okay, I'm not going to stop using Crest toothpaste, but, you know,
Right.
it's just kind of sad, okay, that, you know, because that's our hometown
company.
thing, you know?
Mm-hmm. You know that one of my trouble spots is right under my nose. I can't get a razor up there to get that little... If I use generic razors, I know what there's
you mean.
A little tuft of hair left there.
Yeah, me too.
On the Schick, you can flip back the edge of the razor so that the actual metal goes right there.
Oh, you flip the edge back. See, the Gillettes, at least the ones, I use the one that has like the five blades on it, and you turn it around, and it's got a thing on the back, like a single blade on the back for those areas, and for like trimming sideburns and stuff like that.
Yeah. So they've got something close to that on the Schick.
I'll
You
have to
just
check
flip
Schick
this
out.
little plastic thing back.
I'm going to check it out.
It's one of like 4 or 5 blades on that. It does a pretty good job for me. Let's see. What is abortion and why are Catholics
yeah, you and Jason did that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was off
And then
having a cruise.
I think we did transgenderism also.
Yes.
You know, we didn't really... It's like...
Because I don't remember the transgender one. It's like...
It's not like there's a Catholic teaching on this.
It's just stupid. I mean, it's like...
Yeah.
It's like... I don't know. It's like talking about a Catholic teaching on anti-gravity or something, you know? It's
just kind of silly. Then we did the Catholic response to other religions.
Yeah.
There were some things on that, like...
That's after
that
Abu Dhabi statement the Pope signed or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, in that podcast, I was kind of making the case that it's possible. I was trying to outline the path that a Protestant would have to getting to heaven. Like things like forgiveness and... Actually, I guess I was outlining the path of once someone's baptized and they sin mortally, is there a path to heaven if they're not Catholic?
Because they don't have the benefit of confession.
Right. And one of the points I was getting ready to make, and I got lost in it and I never came back to it, was that it might also fall under ignorance. I mean, if a Protestant does not know that this is a mortal sin and doesn't even know what a mortal sin is,
or doesn't realize doesn't know about the sacrament
severity
of confession and pours their whole heart into their own, sorrow for the sin.
Right. But I had forgot to talk about ignorance when it comes to sin, because you have to know it's a sin.
Yeah.
And you have to know it's a mortal sin in order for it to be a mortal sin.
Right.
Now, I guess that doesn't erase responsibility. We have to find out if something is a sin, but...
Yeah, there's a responsibility to form your conscience well. But as far as God willing other religions, that's just balderdash.
That was silly, yeah. And he never really walked that back.
No, he didn't. I mean, that's still out there, and even Bishop, what's his name? Athanasius Schneider, I think, is it? Has been saying, hey, we need clarity on this. This is a big deal.
I would say at this point, I'd rather not have clarity, because then I have to make an odd decision if he clarifies the wrong way. Right. I mean, what do you do?
Well, that's probably the Holy Spirit's gift to the church during the Francis pontificate is lack of clarity.
I sure hope so. Here's the problem. I believe in the Pope's infalibility, and I believe that Pope Francis is a heretic, and I don't know how to make those two things reconcile.
Oh, well, that's... The the infallibility is it's not an infallibility of person, it's an infallibility of act. And so it only adheres to certain specific acts, at least as described and kind of circumscribed by the Vatican I. I think it's Pastor Aeternus. Right. I don't know. I don't remember the exact document from Vatican I. But anyway, it only adheres to certain acts and within certain specific circumstances.
Yeah.
And that's really the kind of resolution. But it doesn't adhere to the person who occupies the papacy.
Yeah. Well,
although some people like to pretend that it does.
Yeah, there's kind of.
Well, what's funny is all those liberals who were rejecting the church teaching all along now want to pretend that it does somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, they've all got pictures of Pope Francis hanging everywhere.
Yeah.
See, we did dignity of work.
Mm-hmm. Why are millennials wimpy? Hey, by the way, did I ever tell you? I think I even took a picture of it. If I have the picture, I should send it to you, and you should put it on our website or something. But I was driving along, and I saw a Jeep that had what was advertised on the side of the Jeep as a millennial anti-theft or an anti-millennial theft device.
Anti-millennial theft device.
Yeah. And what it showed on the side was a picture of the slots for a standard stick shift.
There's not too many millennials who can drive a stick. Yeah, I like that. Okay. You want to hear? Okay, this is weird. I have driven junk cars my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And I for the past 2 years, I've even been praying about it. I wanted to give Vicky a car that she's not embarrassed to drive.
Oh, right.
And one that she doesn't constantly worry is going to break down.
Yeah.
Like if we take a trip more than 5 blocks away, we got to plan on, well, what if it breaks down?
Mm-hmm.
So, this last year, we finally got a car and an almost new car.
Yeah.
And Vicky's loving this thing. And she takes it to UDF up the street. And she's inside. And there's a guy at the gas pump. His car's running. His door's open. And he walks away.
Wow.
And he walks to run in to pay for something. And some kid who had been standing at the side of the parking lot the entire time,
waiting for that to
just
happen,
ran over and jumped in. And he does a U-ey to try to get out, slamming into our new car.
Oh my!
And except it was a stick. He didn't know how to drive a stick.
So he's just completely wrecking everything
bumping
while
things
he's trying
and,
to do this.
Yeah. I think he got down the road and then got out and ran away. I don't know. But it doesn't matter because insurance isn't going to pay for our car because there's no insurance.
No.
Except for our insurance, but there's a $500 deductible. And as of yet, I haven't been able to afford the $500. So,
gosh.
But just,
oh, man, that sucks.
A stick.
Yeah, well, more on millennials.
It is what it is.
See, if he weren't such a wimp, he would have at least known how to drive the car he stole.
Yeah, and he wouldn't have crashed into our car and ruined everyone else's time.
Of course, and then there's the idiot that left his car running in Cheviot. I guess there's
stupid.
probably cities you can do that. That's okay, but not Cheviot.
Yeah, not anymore. But still, you think you're going to walk in. You're going to the door. You're not 20 feet away from the thing, and you go to the door and say, "Hey, can you?" Or here's a 20. Can you put this on pump one?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. But that's not the way it happened. Somebody got in and tried to drive off in it. Let's see. We did Flat Earthers. Remember that one?
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about that. Yeah. They're still out there. They're not going away.
I think they're actually growing.
It's weird. Notre Dame. Did they ever figure out who did it?
You know what? I haven't followed up on that in so long.
I mean, cigarettes or something. I would say Europe is lost to the Catholic Church.
That sure seems like it.
I mean, there's nothing Catholic in Europe anymore.
No.
And
yeah.
With all the immigration of the Muslims coming in. But you know, did you ever read The Flying In by Chesterton?
Yes.
Okay. That was a pretty long time ago. And apparently, even then, the immigration of Muslims was a problem.
No kidding.
Or at least the way I read that book was that people were worried about the number of Muslims coming into England.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't even have that in mind when I read it.
That's kind of what I was thinking as I was reading it, but that was a long time ago.
Oh gosh, I was in high school when I read it.
Okay.
I didn't even know about Muslim integration.
Probably didn't know what a Muslim was, hardly.
I knew what a Muslim was, but they were just like these kooky people who lived in the Middle East.
Yeah. We did the two on the devil.
Yep. Part 1, Part 2.
There was something I wanted to add to that, and I can't remember what it was. Well, I wrote that book.
Which one?
I need to put the book on there. About an exorcist. I wrote a book about an exorcist.
Oh, you wrote the book. Yeah, I know.
Okay. I don't think that's on. I need to link to that on there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you should. That was a really good book. Are you going to do have you gotten any new stories like kicked off? Are you going to develop that into a series?
Yeah, I'm kind of a quarter way into the next book, but I kind of hit some writer's block, and I'm trying to find something to make that go again. But yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay.
Why Catholic sex works better.
So that's why you remember when we got off by one on the beer of the week somehow?
Yeah.
That's why, because you did Dale's Pale Ale with Jason.
No, Jason picked that out.
Jason picked it out? He gave you one? Because I know I had one of those.
No, he didn't give me one. Did you?
Well, I think I did.
I don't know. Jason just wanted to talk about... Jason just wanted to use Dale's name in the podcast. Dale's our brother-in-law. He's just a fun guy.
He's a great guy.
Let's see. Yeah, this is when I started listing the beers of the week. Abortion, Trump, and America. Where should Catholics stand? I stand completely behind that more than I did before.
Me too. It's like
he just keeps fighting
I'm
for
looking
us.
So forward to him being president again, being elected again in November. Which, to show you how far out of the news loop I haven't even read the news lately to see what the fallout of Super Tuesday is for the Democrats.
Biden got a lot further than anybody thought he would. And they kind of strategized to cut Bernie out.
Uh-huh.
Kind of. Like, let's see, Klobuchar and who was the gay guy?
Oh,
Mayor Pete.
Yeah, Pete Beetlejuice or whatever his name is.
Yeah, they had dropped out, and look, they were talked into dropping out just at that time, where Elizabeth Warren, who was more of a socialist and who would draw off more of Bernie's votes, stayed in.
Oh, okay. Until
the day after we're going to call it Super Thursday from now on.
Why?
Because hold on. Because Joe Biden was making a speech, and he called it Super Thursday. He just, every time he gets up on stage, something like that happens. I'm starting to wonder if he's doing it on purpose. Super Thursday.
I don't know. Maybe
there is no Super Thursday.
You know it.
I think he knows that when it comes time to put any kind of wit against Donald Trump, he's going to get pounded. And so he lowers all the expectations.
That could be. Yeah, that could.
Interesting
strategy.
Trump doesn't even have to try to beat Joe Biden.
Yeah.
But
that's true.
He'll look mean, you know? Like, come on, don't pick on a guy with Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
I think I just wonder if he's doing that. But
that could be.
Either way, as everybody thought would happen, Bernie's getting kind of cut out, and he's not really fighting for it.
Really?
He's not saying, "Hey, you can't do this to me." And he didn't do that when Hillary cut him out.
No.
And everybody knew it had happened.
Well, I don't know. I guess he's part of this is he's technically independent, right? Even though he's running on the Democrat ticket.
He's not even a Democrat.
So that's part of it, is that he doesn't have a standing, I guess, to complain too much.
Right. Let's see. The Catholic Mass. Are good Catholics animal lovers?
And we decided, yes, they are.
Yeah. At the same time, they do not believe that animals have rights,
right?
As individuals.
No, animals aren't people too.
And it's okay to eat them, and it's okay even to use them in things like research and stuff like that.
You know, my son once told me that he was quoting what he thought was an interesting cow. He said, even though a cow makes typically 1,300 hamburgers, a single cow can make 1,300 hamburgers. A single hamburger typically has meat from over 300 cows in it.
That's scary.
My response was, how does the cow handle the spatula?
I don't know. I'm not going to comment on that.
All right.
I'm afraid of cows.
Have
you ever been around cattle? They're giant.
They are not animals to trifle with.
But, okay, when they're behind a fence...
I've been able to reach out and pet them
one
from behind a fence. I've never been with them in, unbarriered.
Did you notice how cartoonishly pretty their eyes are?
Yeah, with the lashes and stuff?
Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it?
It's like this... Someone should have drawn this, because it's just these great big bright eyes, but the rest of the animal's all nasty and stupid, but they do have some pretty eyes. I don't know. That's what struck me when I got close to my first cow. God is the eternal creator, and then environmentalism. We did that. Yeah, I'll tell you what, the more... I don't think I've ever realized until in the past year how bad the environmentalist movement is for America and for Catholics.
Yeah.
I mean, and how stupid it is. The whole climate change idea. I mean, until I really sat and thought about this, I never realized how dumb it is.
Mm-hmm.
That the oceans are going to rise because it gets warmer. Do you know how much of Russia is usually freezing?
How much?
If it got warmer, I don't... nothing bad would happen.
Yeah, I think the only concern with the oceans rising, the only vector for the oceans rising is melting the ice from Antarctica. Which is
okay. Which
is significant.
Which is it? Antarctica or Arctica?
No, it's Antarctica. Because the Arctic
solid ice.
The Arctic ice is just a continuation of part of the ocean. It's a frozen part of the ocean, of the world ocean. But Antarctica is a land continent with a bunch of ice piled on top. And I personally think that after the flood, the great, the great flood, Noah's flood. Yeah. I think that's where God put all the water is on Antarctica.
Okay.
So that
I think there's that much water there?
Huh?
You think there's that much water there?
I once I looked up the land area of Antarctica and the average depth of ice on Antarctica and figured out what if you were to take that ice and then spread it like icing
all over
the ocean parts of the world, not on the land, but just the ocean parts of the world. How thick would it be? And it came out to like 100 feet.
Huh.
I was real surprised. It's like, oh, that is a thing. Now, it's not going to wipe out all the land, but it would definitely move coastlines and disappear a few small islands.
You know, one of the things pointed out to me last year about environmentalists and how fake they are is that some of the more famous ones are buying land still in places like Florida along the coastline.
The places that would disappear.
Yeah. I mean, they're paying millions of dollars.
They don't believe the BS they're shoveling.
Yeah, they don't believe it any more than I do. It's silly.
In fact, they're probably shoveling the BS in order to devalue the land so they can buy it.
Right. The thing is, there are huge plots of land on our planet that are almost uninhabitable.
Yeah.
Because it's so cold. And often because it's so high.
Yeah, or dry or whatever, right.
If you take those two things away, I mean, there's deserts and stuff that, so what if they were covered by water? Then they wouldn't be a desert.
Yeah.
And I mean, just in America, we've got all of Alaska that, we got people there, but not a lot of people. And there's huge sections of Canada that would be more livable if it were warmer.
Yeah,
so
that's true. That's true. I mean, I get that there are certain industries that from certain places where they rely on the cycle of the cold in order to make their money from year to year, and so. But stuff like that changes. That the way people make their living and make do, it changes. It's the fact that it's hard in the short term, doesn't mean that it's a bad thing in the long term. So I'm
the Sahara wasn't always a desert.
Of the opinion that, the thing is that the climate models that they've had I think people were starting to get wise that the climate models that talk about global warming, they're talking about the average global temperature going up. And the way that would work is because the coldest parts of the year would be less cold and the coldest parts of the world would be less cold. It's not that the hotter parts of the world would get hotter or the hotter parts of the year would get hotter. And I think people were starting to get wise to that, so they came up with this cockamamie that, there's going to be these cataclysmic climate changes that are going to result in, all these like super tornadoes and stuff like that. They make for good movies, but not for.
Yeah, shouldn't be taught in school. And it's ingrained in so many kids now.
It's kind of, I think the modern environmental movement is kind of like the 50s and 60s, maybe 70s space paranoia that everybody thought we were going to get invaded by aliens kind of thing. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
In some ways, I equate environmentalists with flat earthers. They continue to believe.
I'd say so. I mean,
despite the science.
There's just no reason to think these things. And they continue to think them, and they continue to... It's not just that they think them, they make policies based on them. And the policy is always to keep people from doing things that make them more independent.
Right.
Or to keep births from happening. Because it almost seems to always lead towards abortion. If you take their arguments to its natural end, it's always abortion.
Yep. That's what I think it's about. I honestly, I think there's a sort of diabolic,
just a part of it is
push behind it.
Yeah. That is the very last one we did.
It is.
Environmentalism. And as far as things in the news, so many crazy things have happened in the past 6 months.
Impeachment sham impeachment.
Yeah. The Pope brought pagan idols into the Vatican.
Yeah, pachamamas, which some brave man took and threw them into the Tiber River.
Yeah. I get sick at my stomach when I think about that because I remember as a kid, we're going over the Old Testament, and over again, these Jews keep falling into worshiping false gods, and I kept thinking, why would they do that?
Why would they do that? And here our own Pope is allowing it right in the Vatican.
But it's not like falling into some kind of sexual sin or greed or something like that. It's how is there a weakness
why
to worshiping?
But I think a lot of times it seemed to me a lot of times there was a sexual content to it because
a lot of times there was some woman.
A woman was involved. Yeah,
and both ways, bringing the Jews back again. Often there was
right.
There was a seductress and then a heroine.
Yep.
A lot of times. But I just thought that was crazy because they knew the past when these people were raised. They were taught what had happened, what brought them to the promised land, and also in certain things like why they were kicked out for times and then allowed back in and things like that. And all they had to do was just not worship other gods.
Yeah.
And it's the number one thing. It's like the first commandment. It's the big one.
Mm-hmm.
And how could our Pope do this? And I don't know if he worshipped the Pachamama or not.
But he let the worship happen ritually right in the Vatican.
The ritual was there, and they were worshiping a false god, and he was sitting there watching it instead of setting it on fire or something. But it happened.
And then apologized when somebody corrected it by removing it from a Catholic church.
The whole thing was just so disturbing to any real Catholic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you remember the photos that were flying around.
The woman nursing the
lady
the
nursing
goat
a
thing
pig
or whatever
or
it was. I don't know, the dog or
Yeah.
the goat. I don't even know.
It was, the whole thing was just, and the funny thing is, I've been saying for a while, see, when up in Harrison they moved their church to a bigger church, which seemed kind of unwarranted, but I might be wrong. And then the first thing he does is they're going to have a Spanish Mass.
Okay.
Which didn't make a... This is Harrison, Ohio. There aren't...
You have this big
It's not
Spanish
like an immigrant
population
town.
in
I
Harrison?
mean, yeah, well, nobody speaks Spanish. There are a couple people there, but... and then, lo and behold, he goes to... He was in Rome during the Amazon Synod.
Oh.
I don't know what he did there. I don't know if he was part of it. I just know that he went.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this, or I think this. I believe that the Amazon Synod, what it was really all about was developing a new liturgy. I think that's what's going to come out of the Amazon Synod.
You think that even
then,
more so than the whole like married priests and women priests thing?
Yeah. And I should get the document. Maybe next podcast I'll do this. The documents they give out after these synods.
Yeah.
The one from the Pope talks about a developing liturgy.
Oh, okay.
Okay. That is the end. I mean, I didn't go over any current events because it's been so long since our last one, and all that crazy stuff happened, and
yeah, there's a lot.
I think we need to do a podcast about the Pope's infallibility.
Yeah, kind of explain that and explore that a little bit, because I know that is got a lot of people. There's a lot of people who on the one hand their faith is challenged, and then there's a lot of people who simply feel that no matter what the Pope does, you have to support it.
But I guess that's it for today.
Well, you have time for a couple of nonsense news?
Yeah.
Okay. Because this one's kind of funny. So at this, what is it? Hockey, I guess. It's in Canada, so it must be hockey. This hockey tournament, youth hockey tournament in Canada. This 8-year-old boy, won this prize. He took it on a big basket full of stuff. He's so proud of it. It turns out there's about $200 worth of marijuana products.
No.
Including edibles, a lighter, and smoking apparatus. The Dawson Creek Minor Hockey Association issued a statement explaining, here's the explanation, the prize was meant for adults, never where the children were.
Well, then why'd they give it to a kid for
I guess
youth hockey?
The prizes got mixed up or something like that. I don't know. But I guess in Canada, the adult hockey players compete for marijuana.
Is marijuana legal in Canada?
I think it has to be.
I guess it is. It must be.
It must be. I mean...
Huh. We never did a podcast about drugs and marijuana and stuff like that. And I'm glad we didn't, because over the past 6 months, I have completely changed my views on that.
Because of what you've seen it do to people?
Yeah. A short time ago, I was kind of liberal on the whole question.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not anymore at all. I'm the exact opposite now.
Yeah.
And it was in a very short time that I saw what I saw, and it just completely changed me. So I'm glad we never talked about that.
Yeah.
But we will.
Well, I kind of got to... I rely on you and Jason and people to kind of try to form my own opinion about it, because I don't even have a real reference, for what it does. I'm not a user.
Mm-hmm.
I don't interact with a lot of people other than, that are like, I don't know. I just
a couple engineers that are weekend warriors or whatever.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, so I don't really know anything about it. So I got to rely on you guys to, So anyway, Canada, go to Canada, learn hockey, win some marijuana.
Win some weed.
Win some weed. So this, Next one up, California homeowner uses motion-activated sprinkler with, in quotes, impressive amount of pressure to thwart thieves. And so he's got this pickup truck set up.
To squirt what?
Thwart thieves.
Oh, thwart the... Oh, okay, cool.
So he's got this pickup truck set up, and he's got this hose sprayer and I guess a motion sensor. And when somebody approaches to try to steal something, it just blasts them.
Blasted.
It must be a pressure washer almost. But a pressure washer, it's real high pressure at short distance, but
right.
A few feet away, it's harmless. I think this is even. I don't know. This must be even stronger than that, or something.
Maybe like a fire hose or something.
There's actually a video. It's pretty funny. The kid rides up on a bike to try to. He's presumably he's certainly a ne'er-do-well, and this thing kicks on, and he just immediately turns around, spins around, and hightails it out. Thing is, I don't know that it's even the water pressure that did it. I think he's kind of startled
just
by
scare
the sound
daylights out of you. I would think that animals would set that thing off, because I got a motion sensor outside our house, and the light's always going on when deer walk through the yard.
Yeah,
and sometimes owls set it off.
Next up, the headline is Count Binface to run for mayor of London. So there's this guy. He's in, I guess, what you could call a knight's outfit. Honestly, to me, it looks like something out of Monte Carlo. The helmet of this knight's outfit is this great big trash can. He's a self-proclaimed fearless space warrior who ran against Boris Johnson in the last general election. He's going to run for the mayor of London. He ran against Theresa May in 2017 under the alias Lord Buckethead. He said that London is the greatest city on the planet. I call it Earth capital. As such, it needs people from outside Earth to pay its dues. I don't know why that would be.
Is he claiming to be from outside of Earth?
He calls himself a space hero. No, a space warrior.
Space warrior.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. What can you expect from a country who requires you to get a license to watch TV? That's what I keep going back to when it comes to Britain.
Yeah. The funny thing? I know so little about politics in anywhere other than America.
Yeah.
I think if you go anywhere in the world and you say who's the president of the U.S., they would know not just his name, but a lot about him.
Oh, right.
But if you asked me who's the leader of England or Europe or any other, even Israel, I couldn't tell you their name. Mm-hmm. When I hear the name, I recognize it.
Right.
But it's just funny that Americans, we just don't care what's going on in the rest of the world.
But Russia, right?
We're kind of like, yeah, okay, Putin.
Yeah,
I do know Putin.
It's still, what is
the
it
two
like?
Superpowers
30 years after the fall of the Berlin Wall, it's still, the American president and the Russian prime minister.
Yeah, that's the only two people you really need to know if you're not American or Russian. And we just don't care about England or who's leading it, except to the thing that's going on in America seems to be happening all over the world, though.
It does.
The people who have been shouted down, the conservatives, are getting some backbone and starting to fight back.
Yeah. The real people are starting to push back against the fake people, is how I see it.
Yeah. And I keep thinking this is starting in America and it's spreading, And I think it's going to spread to the church. And I think that's why Pope Francis dislikes America so much.
That could be, yeah.
Because the traditional Latin movement really took in America.
Mm-hmm.
And it's getting huge in America. And I think it's one of those things he wishes he could figure out a way to stop. And I think something big is coming. I don't know what.
I think so too.
At least I hope.
And it may involve some kind of schism in the church.
Yeah.
You know, who knows? It would be a very weird one if it were to happen right now, because the people on the right side of the schism would also be, you know,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Because ecclesiastically, the Pope is still the Pope. You know, so it's kind of an awkward kind of a thing to contemplate right now.
Yeah.
All right.
It's going to get weird.
So anyway, Brits, you know, they made fun of Trump, had that big baby Trump balloon that, you know, but that's fine. They can keep their bucket head and bin face. We'll keep Trump and be happy with that.
I'm happy with Trump.
All right.
He's not off finding aliens.
Michigan man stabbed with samurai sword after not buying pot for his partner. So, okay, obviously we're talking about a gay couple here. And I guess the one didn't buy pot for the other, so the other stabbed him with a samurai sword. Which I guess kind of highlights the difference between being in a relationship with a gay guy and being in a relationship with a woman. Because if you don't buy pot for your woman, all she's going to do is stop talking to you.
Or stop doing something else. And that's enough.
But if it's a gay guy, he's going to stab you with a samurai sword.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't get it.
Which weapon is more effective? The
sword or
or the other thing? I think the other thing's more effective.
I think so, probably.
And she won't go to jail for it. That's weird.
Anyway, that's all I got.
Okay. Well, hopefully we'll get together again Friday, and we'll keep this going.
Oh,
and
you know what?
Hopefully by then
you need to reach out to Jason and get him to commit to Friday. I will be out of state on Friday. I'm going to Washington, Vancouver, Washington, to see our grandkids, and one of my grandkids is in a play at the high school there, so I won't.
All right. If I can, I'll try to get Jason.
Yeah.
And see what happens, or someone else if I can't get Jason.
Yeah, but lock him in now. He's squirrely. He's hard to pin down and commit to something.
Meanwhile, I'll also get the web page fixed so that people can get that. See us again.
I need to get my my blog posts over to our. Let's see.
We'll get back on the wagon.
Well, you come up with some cool pictures for these. I'm looking at the blog posts that I have in there.
They're all stock photos.
Oh, I know, but you know, it's like
they're all free. The ones I have are free.
Mm-hmm.
I don't pay for them, but you can get even better ones by paying for them.
Well, sure, but you know, I don't even think. Sometimes on the actual gristmill site, I come up with a picture, like on the Sandmann one. I've got a picture of Nick Sandmann and Bishop Foys, side by side, which I actually took from LifeSite News, but I credited them.
All right. Did you credit it?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I credited them.
It still might not mean anything. Still might be illegal.
Well, okay, but it's just 2 pictures of them. It's not like a painting or something like that.
All of my stuff is legal. I make sure to
if
I cover all my bases.
What I could do is I could put it as a link that actually goes and pulls it from their site every time.
Yeah.
But they would be honked off if I did that, because then I'm increasing their throughut traffic that they pay for. So
yeah,
I think it's
that's a thing. Like when you run a website, that's one of the things you can do is to put blockers up to keep that from happening.
Oh, okay.
In case it happens a lot.
Yeah.
Like if you're suddenly drained of bandwidth because a real popular site is pulling your picture like that, then you got ways to put a stop to it.
Makes sense.
All right. Well, think about what we said, and hopefully someone will see you next week. And circle
no
the beads.
matter what, circle the beads.
Yeah, we need a lot of that. All right. Thanks, folks. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.